Welcome to the design of concrete structure course. So this is lecture number 12 and here we'll be discussing the limit state of collapse in shear. So up to lecture number 11 we have discussed from basic scratch different material properties, loads, and then ultimately how to design the beam. And in the beam design we have discussed that singly reinforced beam and then doubly reinforced beam also. So now in this lecture we'll be discussing about the limit state of collapse in shear. So if you recall in the structural analysis what we did, so in that if a beam is subjected to load, for example consider a beam, and this is a simply supported beam and subjected to a load, maybe a UDL or anything. So in that case first what we draw the shear force bending moment diagram, right? So bending moment diagram will be something like that. So it is a parabolic in nature and you will have the maximum bending moment at the center, and that value we know already, WL squared by 12. So this is, we call it bending moment diagram, right? Bending moment, BMD. So one more diagram we have drawn in the analysis course, so that is shear force diagram. If you recall how the shear force diagram will look like for this beam, so the shear force diagram will be something like that. So the shear force will be maximum near to the support, and it is WL by 2, and this is also WL by 2. So shear force is maximum near to the support, whereas it is minimum at the center of the span. So that we call it shear force diagram, right? So these two diagram we have discussed in the statistical analysis course. That means when the load is applied on a beam, the beam is subjected to bending moment as well as shear force. Okay, so both the forces are acting, bending moment and shear force. Now whatever beam design we have considered, so till now we have designed a beam, right? So in that we have drawn the cross section of the beam. Means in case of doubly reinforced section we have designed it. So let me draw it here. So it will be something like that, right? So we have designed till now doubly reinforced section of and both side steel bars are there. So this section till now we have designed. So this beam, this is the beam design we have done, and these bars are actually longitudinal bars. Longitudinal bars means if you uh, draw the beam in a longitudinal manner, and these bars are provided at the bottom here, longitudinal bars at the, as well as at the top, right? So like that these bars are actually provided. Okay, these bars are provided in this fashion. So this design what we have got it is based on the bending moment diagram, right? We have considered what is the maximum bending moment in a beam. So if it's a UDL, then maximum bending moment will occur at the center of the span, right? So that's why center of the span, the value is WL squared by 12. So we considered maximum bending moment of this one, and then we have designed our section. Design means we find it out what is the number of reinforcements and what is the dimension of reinforcements also. Like we have the tension reinforcement as well as the shear reinforcement, right? As well as the compression reinforcement also. So and these bars are actually called longitudinal bars, means these bars are provided all along the beam. So like that from left to right, entire length of the beam, these bars are provided at the bottom as well as at the top. Okay, so and this how we got it, this is based on the bending moment diagram. But if you see, when the loads are applied on a structure or on a beam, there is bending moment as well as shear force also, right? This is the shear force diagram. So shear force also will be developed into the beam. So shear force is what? Basically that shearing effect, right? So that bending moment anyway with these longitudinal bars we are taken care. So whatever bending moment is developed, these bars will be developing the opposite bending moment into the beam, and ultimately the structure will be stable, okay, and in equilibrium also. So now what about the shear force? Shear force also applied on a structure, right? Shear force also will be there. So how to tackle the shear force? So for tackle for for overcoming the shear force in a beam, we have to provide the stirrups. So that's what maybe you have seen in real life structures also. Normally beams are like that, and then this type of vertical bars are also provided, right? Vertical bar in the sense rectangular bar, something like that. So these bars we call it stirrups. Okay, this is the typical beam. Now our beam has completed, if you see on longitudinal bars as well as the vertical bars also. But if you see the cross-sectional view, so something like that you will see. Okay, so it will be tied here, so something like that. Okay, so this bar we call it, or these vertical bars we call it stirrups. So these stirrups are provided actually to take care about the shear force. Okay, so whatever shear forces developed, so these stirrups will take care all these shear forces. So where the shear force will be maximum, the shear force, if you see from the bending shear force diagram, the shear force is less or almost zero at the center of the span, whereas shear force is maximum near to the support. So here if you see shear force is maximum, and here also near to the support shear force is maximum. So always, that's why the shear reinforcement, the spacing of the shear reinforcement is also not uniform. So at the center of the span, the shear force is very less, right? Negligible. So that's why the spacing may be increased at the center of the beam. Whereas near to the support, if you see, the shear force is very high. So normally we provide very closely spaced stirrups near to the support, both the sides. Whereas at the middle of the span, the spacing is not very close. It is a little far. So anyway, so in this lecture basically we'll be understanding how to design these shear reinforcements, the stirrups, and how to finalize what is the spacing and all. So this is our lecture number 12, that is limit state of collapse in shear. So let's get started. So before going into actual design, let's find it out what is the failure modes due to the shear. So how actually failure happens due to the shear. So now we understood how failure happens because of bending, right? So because of bending, how failure happens. So quickly I'll draw it here. So if this is a beam and subjected to load, and UDL is applied, then what will happen? The beam will buckle, and the buckling failure will happen at the center of the beam, or in general. So that is the failure due to bending, right? Now we are discussing the failure due to the shear. So how shear failure will occur? So as I mentioned, shear force is maximum near to the support, right? Last slide we have seen the shear force diagram, where you have seen that the shear force is maximum near to the support. That means always whatever failure of shear failure happens, that will be always near to the support. So you can see in the real structurals, in some older buildings, if you visit, you will find there will be small cracks on a beam. So these cracks are actually near to the support, and it is a 45-degree something like crack, you will find it out. So this, if you find any crack on a beam near to the support, and it is almost 45-degree in angle, then you can understand that this beam is failing because of shear. But if you find the cracks at the center of the beam, then you can find that this failure is happening because of bending. So that's how we can classify which type of failure is happening in the beam. Either it may be shear or it may be bending failure. So shear failure is always occurring near to the support, and at an angle of 45 degrees, something like that, you will find the shear failure. So wave shear progress along with the dotted line. So this along with the dotted line, the failure normally happens. Now this diagram is failure of tension. So see, this beam is actually, this longitudinal bars are provided, right? Because to take care about the bending, so these bars will be provided top and bottom, right? So so when this cracking will happen, what will happen? When these cracks will be happening, the bars, whatever bar is there, right, whatever longitudinal bars are there, so the stresses on this bar, shear stresses on this bar also will be increased, right? So then this bar, longitudinal bar also will fail. So that's what this, if you find this type of cracks, that means the steel bar, whatever steel bar is there at the bottom, this is yielding because of too much shear stress happened applied on this bar, and this type of failure is happening. And this type of failure you will find it when the flexural compression is there. Okay, so when the concrete fiber is failing, then you will find that flexural compression, concrete crashes in compression because of this type of shear failure. You will find it out. Still, there is no failures. That's why it is straight vertical, but concrete has failed here. Okay, so that's what a crack will be developing. So these are the different modes of failure due to the shear. So now how shear stresses are developed in a beam. So if you see, this is a rectangle, this is a rectangular beam, and shear stress is actual real shear stress development is very complex. If you see, if you want to find out what is the real shear stress distribution all along the cross section of the beam, it is really complex. So what is there, what we idealized the shear stresses on a structure, shear stress on a beam. So this is a beam, and shear stress will be varying something like that in the cross section. So it is maximum at the bottom of the fiber, and when you go up, it will be something like parabolic. Okay, so this is the actual, the shear stress distribution along the cross section of the beam. But for our convenience, or for our computation, we normally use this dotted line. The shear force will be something like that, shear force distribution. Although in reality shear force distribution is something like that, parabolic, and then it is straight. But as per our calculation or design calculation, we make it simplified, and we consider this dotted line as a shear stress distribution, and then we design it. So how much will be the shear stress? Shear stress we denote it in terms of tau v. This is tau and suffix v, we call it shear stress. So shear stress equal to shear force by cross sectional area, right? Shear force is, we call it vu. Vu is the shear force divided by cross sectional area. So force into force by cross sectional area will give you the stress, right? So shear stress vu is equal to by bd, by bd is the cross sectional area of the section, and that will give you the shear stress of the section. Now similarly, if you have a T-beam, so in reality maximum beams are actually T-beams, not a rectangular beam, because when we cast our structure, or when we cast our beam, the beam and slab both are casted monolithically, means together it is casted. Beams and columns, or beams and slabs both are casted in the same time. That's why in reality the beams are actually a T-beam, not a rectangular beam, something like that. So it is actually a T-beam. So in case of T-beam, then how to find it out, the shear force? So that is the formula for that. Tau v equal to vu plus mu by d tau beta and by bd. So that is the formula to compute, if the depths are varying on a beam. And this is the distribution of the shear force. You can see this is the distribution of the shear force in a T-beam. So now we know how to compute the shear stresses. So we already know what is the shear force. From shear force we can easily compute what is the shear stress on a structure, on a beam. So now our main objective will be how to overcome, or how to withstand this much of shear stress which is acting on a beam. So now the main concrete or the beam is made up of two material, right? Primarily the beam is made up of two material. So one is obviously concrete, and second one is the steel. Okay, so this two material is made up of the concrete. So whenever the force is applied, or the shear force is applied on a concrete, on a beam, so basically concrete also will take some of the shear force, because concrete also can take small amount of shear force, as well as the steel, that is the longitudinal steel which is provided at the bottom longitudinally, that steel also can take some extent of the shear force. So whatever shear force is applied, so some portion will be taken care by the concrete, and some portion will be taken care by the steel, right? The longitudinal steel. So, and then what if any excess steel, if there is more shear stresses, then we have to provide the stirrups. Okay, so again I'll draw quickly the diagram here. So beam something like that, right? For longitudinal section, so you have at the bottom the longitudinal reinforcement, and the top also you have longitudinal reinforcement, compression and shear reinforcement and tension reinforcement, and we have stirrups, right? So whenever the loads are applied on a structure, the shear force, whatever it will be developed, the concrete, so here all along concretes are there, right? So concrete will take some quantity of shear stress. So after application of the load, stresses will be generated in the beam. So this concrete also will take some of the shear stresses. And then these longitudinal bars are provided, right? These bars also can take uh, some extent of the shear stress. So if you provide more quantity of bars, then more shear stress it will be you know observing. I mean, it will take more shear stress. So concrete will take some extent of the shear stress, as well as that the steel bar also will take some extent of the shear stress. Now remaining, if still more shear force is applied into the structure, then we have to provide the stirrups, okay, to take care about the additional shear stress. So total shear stress, some of the shear stress will be taken care by the concrete, some of the total shear stress will be taken care by these longitudinal steel bars, and then if still more shear stresses are there in a structure, then we have to provide the stirrups. That stirrups will take care about the remaining shear stresses. So now design shear strength without any shear reinforcement. So for example, if you don't provide any shear reinforcement or the stirrups, then how much the beam can take shear stress? So that you will find it IS 456 clause number 40.2.1. If you visit in this clause, you will get you will see this table also. So in this table 19 of IS 456 will stipulate the design of design shear strength of a concrete tau c for the different grade of concrete. Now if you see different, if you use different grade of concrete, so different grade of concrete will take different values of shear stresses. So if you use M20, for example, if you use M20 grade of concrete, so M20 grade of concrete may take some extent of shear stress, but if you use M30 grade of concrete, then M30 will take more shear stress compared to the M20. Okay, so if you increase the grade of concrete, so the shear stress also, okay, shear stress carrying capacity of this concrete also will increase. Similarly, these bars, longitudinal bars, if you provide more number of tension bars, that is AST value, area of steel value, then it will take more shear stress. So this table will give you how much, if you provide grade of concrete along with what is the AST, means area of steel you provided, percentage of steel, and then how much stresses it will take. So for example, in this beam is made up of M25 grade of concrete, and you have provided something about 1% of steel, 1% of tensile steel you have provided. So in that case 1% corresponding, this is percentage, right? So 1% corresponding to M25 is 0.64. So 0.64 Newton per mm square shear stress will be taken care by the steel as well as concrete in this beam. But still, if more number of applied and then shear stress is applied, so for example, so I consider 1% tensile stress. So this is, if you see the same beam, this is a cross section, right? And we provide the reinforcement, so with top reinforcement as well as bottom reinforcement. So this AST we call it AS, area of steel. So total, if you add total is ASC. So if this ASC is 1% of BD. Okay, so if this is area of steel is 1% of BD, then you go to this table, 1% corresponding to the concrete we are using is M25, right? So M25, the value is 0.64. So that means this beam can take 0.64 Newton per mm square shear stress. So this beam can take 0.64 Newton per mm square shear stress. Now, if more loads are applied on a structure and the shear stress tau v you got it maybe 0.9 Newton per mm square, right? So 0.9 mm square is applied shear stress, but how much the beam will generate, that is 0.64. Okay, so that means the extra part is how much? Extra part will be 0.26 Newton per mm square is extra applied on a beam. So because of the 0.26 Newton per mm square, we have to provide the stirrups. So that stirrups will take care 0.26 Newton per mm square shear stress, and then like that we have to design it. So the beam by default, that concrete as well as the steel bar will take some amount of stresses. Okay, that value you will get it from this table. So this table you will get it, table number 19 IS456. If you open, you will get it this table, and from there we get what is the value, and then remaining part, for the remaining part we have to provide the stirrups. Okay, so that's how this is the first step, that is the design of shear reinforcement without design of shear strength without the shear reinforcement, you will get it here. So now next is maximum shear stress, that is tau c with shear reinforcement. So now again, if the beam is subjected to a load, so let's consider a simply supported beam and the load is applied. Okay, so now we understood that the concrete as well as the beam longitudinal as well as the longitudinal bars also will take some amount of shear stress tau b. Okay, so some amount of shear stress tau b it will take. Now then we have to provide additionally the stirrups also. Okay, but still there is a limitation, like maximum shear stress tau c with shear reinforcement should not be more than 2.8 for M20 case, 3.1 for M35, M25 case, M30 3.5. So that also we have to check it, tau c max. So although you can increase the shear strength capacity by adding more stirrups into the beam, but again for M20 grade of concrete, the maximum shear stress along with the shear reinforcement should not be more than 2.8 Newton per mm square. Similarly, for M25 grade of concrete, maximum you know tau c max, maximum shear stress should not be more than the 3.1 Newton per mm square. Although you provide shear reinforcement, still the total shear stress of this section should not be more than this much. So if it is coming more than this much, then what you have to do, you have to redesign the section, means you have to increase the B and D of this cross section. AST also you have to increase. So in that, like that, we have to redesign, and this is a check where you have to do it. So this table you will get it clause number 40.2.3, and in this clause you will get it this table and all. Okay. So now we understood that what is shear reinforcement and how the failure happening in a beam because of shear. Okay, so normally we understood that at the angle of 45-degree angles, normally the cracks will happen. That is failure happening because of shear, and always shear failure will be happening near to the support. Why near to the support? Because from the shear force diagram we saw that shear force is maximum near to the support, right? That's why the shear failure also will happen near to the support, and almost it is an inclined line. It will be inclined cracks will be developed near to the support from bottom corner to, it will go something like that 45-degree angle, and the failure will be happening. Okay, so now if this is a column, right? If you consider this is a column and this is a beam, and because of application of load, if you see there is a tension force into the column, then always we have to find it out. Critical section for the shear is just this one dotted line. Okay, but if it is a compression force in a column, it is acting downward, then we have to take at a distance of d. This will be the critical section. Critical section means where the failure will be happening, most likely failure will be happening. Why it's D? Because this angle is 45 degree, right? Failure normally will happen at an angle of 45 degree. So 45 degree means what? So this angle is 45 degree, means what is this length and this length, both lengths is equal, right? That's why this angle is 45 degree means what? From the trigonometry we know, uh, if this angle is 45 degree means whatever maybe the length of this one, the length of this one is same, right? So what is length of this one? This is the length is D, right? This is the depth of the beam, D, small d. So small d, then from the surface, from the edge of the column to the d distance, this is our failure plane or the critical section in shear. Okay, so even both sides, if you see, so the critical section will be from the edge of the column to at a distance of d means depth of the beam. There you will find the critical section always. Okay, so now we understood the critical section also. So now the codes specified the minimum shear reinforcer, just like W reinforced section also we have seen code has restricted. There should be a limit for the reinforcement. There will be some minimum bar, and there is always there is a maximum range also for the longitudinal reinforcement. Similarly, for the shear reinforcement also, in always we have to provide the minimum shear reinforcement. Although if you do the structural analysis, and if you find that the shear stresses in a beam is very nominal, means very less, means whatever concrete and steel, these are actually sufficient to take care about the shear stresses, then also you have to provide the minimum shear reinforcement in a beam. That is as per our IS clause. If you visit this clause, you will get it. So how much will be the minimum reinforcement based on this formula? So this formula also you will get it in this clause. If you visit IS 456, you will get this formula. What is ASV? ASV is area of steel under shear reinforcement by B into SV. V is the width of the beam, SV is the spacing of stirrups, and 0.4 by 0.87 FY. So based on this formula, you can find it out what is the minimum shear reinforcement. Okay. For example, the applied shear stress is less than the shear stress developed by the concrete as well as the longitudinal bar. So in that case, you may not need to provide the shear reinforcement. But our code said even in that case also you have to provide always the minimum shear reinforcement. By this formula you have to compute it, and you will find it out whether AST value, whatever it is coming, ASV value, that you have to provide it. So why do we need to provide the minimum shear reinforcement? These are the 5 reasons basically to provide the minimum shear reinforcement. First one is that any sudden failure of the beam is prevented if concrete cover bursts, or the bond of the concrete or steel is lost. So in a beam, if you see doubly reinforced beam, how it look like? So the beam will be something like that. So this is the actual outside of the beam, and then at the middle you have the longitudinal bar, something like that, and then we provide the reinforcement, right? Something like that. So this is the stirrups. So stirrups we are providing. So that's what the minimum, these stirrups will basically hold this top bar and the bottom bar. So these stirrups will basically hold top and bottom bar together. So even if the cover burst because of the load, even then also your structure won't collapse, because these bars will be tied up with the stirrups. That is one thing. Next is brittle failure is arrested. So concrete failure is basically brittle failure, right? So suddenly concrete will be failing. But if you have these stirrups, so is the stirrups will basically bind the concrete, in middle of this bar, in middle of this span, and then the brittle failure, it will prevent it for the some extent. Similarly, the tension failure is prevented, which could have occurred due to the shrinkage, thermal stresses, or internal cracking of the beam. All these things, the failure. So to hold the reinforcement in place, okay, because while casting, you have to provide then top reinforcement here and bottom reinforcement here, right? So if you cast it and if you do not hold it, then what will happen? After you pour the concrete, both the bars will be coming together, right? So again, these two bars have to be placed in, always will be in their place. So for that, we need to provide the stirrups. Then section becomes more effective with the tie effect, tie effect of compression steel. So the further, this clause stipulates that maximum spacing. So what will be the maximum spacing now? Now you understood that minimum reinforcement always you have to provide it in no case. But now what will be the spacing? So which spacing we should provide? So our code said it should be, the spacing shall not be more than 0.7575 D, or 300 mm, whichever is, you know less, that we have to consider it out. So in no case the spacing should be more than 300 mm. So in maximum case you can provide it at the center, it is 300 mm or 0.75d, whichever is smaller, that you have to consider, and that will be the maximum spacing between the two birds. So this guideline also will get it in the clause number of this IS 456. So now let's get started about the actual design of shear reinforcement. So the shear reinforcement, normally the stirrups are provided in these three manners. So now if you see a beam, so let me draw it here. So this is a longitudinal beam, and bars are provided, longitudinal bar, top and bottom, and you have the stirrups also, right? So now we understood that cracks will be happening 45-degree cracks, something like that, and near to the support always cracks will be happening, something like that. Okay, so to take care about these cracks, you can provide these vertical stirrups. So these cracks will be happening, right? So these cracks will be prevented by this stirrup. That's why we provide this stirrup. So this stirrup won't allow these cracks to propagate. So this is one way to provide these vertical stirrups. Another thing is we can provide the inclined stirrups also. Inclined stirrups means something, this type of inclined stirrups you can provide, not about vertical. We can provide the inclined stirrups so that that will take care about some forces. So this is another way, inclined stirrups. And another option is bent up bars. Bent up bars means, now you understood that the stresses will be maximum near to the support, right? That's why these bars you can bend it at the near to the support. That means, let me draw it again here. So these longitudinal bars you can bend it, so at the near to the support you can bend it, something like that. So this is longitudinal bar, you can near to the support you can bend it, something like that. And here you have the column, it will go inside the column. So this bent up bars here, it will take care about the stirrups. So stirrup, those shear force is maximum near to the support, right? So like that, using the bent up bars also you can restrict the stirrups. So there are three ways: vertical stirrups, you can provide these vertical stirrups, or you can provide the inclined stirrups, means inclined if you can provide stirrups, or you can use the bent up bars. So there are three ways you can design the shear reinforcement. Okay, so now what will be the design shear force? That is total shear stress minus the shear stress taken care by the concrete and steel, longitudinal concrete and steel. So whatever is remaining left over, that shear force you have to design it, and for that you have to provide the stirrups. For inclined stirrups, so for vertical stirrups, so that is the formula, we can do it. So you will get it, IS clause 40.4, IS perfect, you will get this formula. So this is very simple formula. For that to that much is the shear stress, this is equal to 0.87 Fy into area of stirrups, into D is the depth of the beam, and SB is the spacing of the stirrups. Okay, using this formula easily you can find it out, in the stirrups how much shear force it will generate, how much withstand for shear force, how much it will generate. And for the inclined stirrups, if you provide inclined stirrups, then this is the formula for that, and and alpha is the inclination angle of the stirrups. Okay, so these formulas you will get it in this IS clause 40.4. So now placement of stirrups, once you design the stirrups, so stirrups are exactly placed something like that. So at this one end it will bend it up like that, Okay, all this bender also will have some certain angle, 30 degree or 35 degree. You have to make these angles, and then like this stirrups are provided. Okay, placements of stirrups. So that's the main theory part of the stirrups. So now we'll be solving a quick example how to design the stirrups in with a practical example. Okay, so let's get started by solving an example. So what is the question here? Question here is determine the shear reinforcement. Shear reinforcement means the stirrups. Shear reinforcement to determine the shear reinforcement of a simply supported beam of effective span of 8 meter whose cross section is given here. The factored shear force is 250 kilonewton and use M25, M20 and Fe415 grade of concrete and steel. So this section is given to you. So based on these forces and based on total bending moment and M20 and M415, so you have already designed the doubly reinforced section. So two number of 12 mm bar and two number of 25 mm bar and plus two number of 20 mm bar. So it's the same design. Actually we have done it in the earlier classes also. So in the earlier classes, the same example we have considered, but we did not design this reinforcement, right? These stirrups we have not provided. We have designed only this tension reinforcement as well as the compression reinforcement. But in reality, if you see, there is stirrups also, right? We have to design stirrups also. So in this example, we'll be just continuing our previous problem which we solved it in case of doubly reinforced section, and we'll be designing now the stirrups. Okay, so BD everything is given to us. We have to find it out what is the dimension. So in this design means what? Design of shear reinforcement means what? We have to find out what is the dimension. Two things you have to find it out. Okay, one is dimension. Dimension means diameter. Diameter of the stirrups means what is the diameter of this one, and another is the spacing, right? Spacing means longitudinal bar will be there, and we provide stirrups something like that, right? So what is the spacing here? So this spacing we call it SV. So you have to find out SV also. So these two parameters you have to find it out. What is the diameter of this bar and what is the spacing? Okay. So these two parameters we have to find it out. So how to do it? So first find out what is AST. So area of tension steel at the bottom we provided a 225 mm torr bar plus 220 mm torr bar, right? So this is the bar we've already provided it. So now what is the total percentage of steel we provided? So it will be, you just find out pi by 4 into 25 square into 2 plus pi by 4 into 20 square into 2. So this will give you total AST. This value should comes out 1609. Okay, and by B and D you will get it total the percentage of steel, how much is provided, tension steel. So it is 1.43, right? So now come to this table. So this table is also from IS 456. That is that much because of this percentage of steel and M20 grade of concrete. How much is the shear stress generated by the section itself, by the concrete and beam itself? That you will get it. So 1.43 means you have to interpolate it, right? We have 1.5 and 1.225. So based between these two values, you have to interpolate it. Okay, and we are using M 20 M20 grade of concrete, so that means the value should lie from 0.67 to 0.72, right, in this range. So we have to interpolate it. So interpolate it how to do this? 0.67 is this one. This is for 1.25 plus you add it because of interpolation, and you will get it ultimately 0.706. So if you interpolate these two values 0.67 and 0.72, you will get it 0.706 Newton per mm square. So this is our tau c. Okay, so tau c means that much shear stress will be taken care by the beams, concrete as well as the longitudinal reinforcement, whatever you provided. That concrete and longitudinal reinforcement will take care about that much shear stress. Now, how much shear stress is applied in our structure, in our beam? That is tau v. We can compute shear stress will be nothing but Vu by Vd. Already we know Vu is the shear force by Bd cross sectional area. Shear force is given to us in the question 215 kilonewton. So we convert it into Newton, 10 to the power 3 is multiplied by Bd. You will get it 2.22 Newton per mm square. So that much shear stress is coming into our beam, and that concrete and the steel, longitudinal steel bar, will take care about this much shear stress, 0.706, and that much is applied is 2.22, and only this portion will be taken care by the concrete and steel. Then remaining portion, for the remaining portion we have to provide the shear reinforcement, right? And maximum this M20 grade of concrete can take 2.8 Newton per mm square. And what is applied shear stress, it is 2.22, right? It's less than this one. That means whatever section is there, that section can take this much of shear stress if you provide the stirrups. Okay, so the concrete and the steel can take this much, and total applied is 2.2. So that's why we have to provide the shear reinforcement has to be provided. Stirrups has to be provided because the extra remaining part 2.22 minus 0.706, right? What you will get it will be 1.5 Newton per mm square. So for 1.5 Newton per mm square shear stress, you have to provide the stirrups. Okay, so now let's do the stirrups design. So how to do that? Now for stirrups, how much shear stress has to be taken care? That is total is 250. 250 is shear force acting on it, isn't it? To total 250 shear force is given in a question, and because of concrete and the longitudinal steel, how much it will take care? So that is 0.706. We completed in the last slide. We computed that much stress into B into D. If you do it, so you will get it 250 minus this one, so 170 kilonewton. So for 170 kilonewton shear force, we have to design the stirrups. Total applied is 250 kilonewton. That concrete as well as the longitudinal bar will take some amount of shear force, that is this quantity. So 250 minus this quantity will be 170 kilonewton. So for 170 kilonewton we have to design the stirrups. So let's provide initially 8 mm bar. So normally stirrups we provide either in 6 mm or 8 mm or 10 mm or maximum 12 mm bars, we provide it as a stirrups. Okay, so for initial guess, first we will take 8 mm and two leg stirrups. Two leg means this is one leg and this is another leg. So two leg, this is the two leg stirrup. So here one leg, here another leg, right? Two leg stirrups. So for that we have, what is ASV then? Area of stirrups we are providing. So for 8 mm bar, find it out what is the cross sectional area of the 8 mm bar. So cross sectional area of the 8 mm bar will be, how to compute? So pi by 4 into 8 square, right? Pi by 4 into 8 square, once you do it, you will get something 50. So one bar has a cross sectional area of 50. So we have, it is two legs, so one leg here, one leg here. So two leg means 2 into 50. So total area of ASV is 100 mm square. So now this formula you will get it in the IS code 456, right? In the theory part we discussed this spacing as V equal to 0.87 Fy ASV D by V US. So plug in all the values whatever we know, and you get it. What is the spacing? Spacing is 95 mm. So spacing of stirrups is 95 mm. If you provide 8 mm bar stirrups and two-legged bar, then 95 mm spacing you have to provide it. Now, if you use 10 mm bar, two-legged stirrups, then area of ASV is 157, right? Pi by 4 into 10 square. If you do it, will be 157 mm. And then in that case, spacing will be, if you same value, same formula, just plug in the values, new ASV value, and you will get it. The spacing is 149.54 mm. So according to IS 456, the maximum spacing between the stirrups is how much? Either 0.75D, which comes out to be 337, or in no case it should be more than 300, right? So maximum is 300. And how much we got it? We got it 150 for 10 mm, and 8 mm we got it 95. So anyone, both are equally fine. Anyone you can use. Either you can use 8 mm bar, then you have to give the spacing of 95 mm, or you can use 10 mm bar, then the spacing will be 150 mm or 15 centimeter. So we can use 10 mm also, or you can use 8 mm, anything is fine. So in this example we are taking the 10 mm bar, two-legged bar, and spacing is 150 mm. Okay, so now minimum shear reinforcement, let's we have to check it, right? Whether we are covering the minimum reinforcement or not. So that in the highest clause, this clause, you will get this formula, and we have discussed also in the past slides. So in that, using this formula, you can compute what is the minimum shear reinforcement has provided. So minimum shear reinforcement, if you plug in all the values, it comes out to be 40.16 mm square. So minimum you have to provide it 40.16 mm square. But how much we are providing? We are providing something 157 mm square, right? So we are providing 157, so it is obviously more than this, so more than minimum one. So that is also check, this check is also done. So we are providing more than minimum one, that is also fine. So finally we select 10 mm 10 mm bar. So this diameter, now we got a 10 mm bar, two-legged stirrups, and center to center spacing is 145, center to center spacing. So whatever we got it, always we have to provide the less. So this is the maximum spacing we can provide. This is 149. So 149, it is very difficult, right? In the site, if you cannot provide 145, 149 mm spacing, that's why in a round figure 145 mm space, center to center spacing, we can provide it. So ultimately this is the final design, And if you see the longitudinal section of the same beam, so longitudinal section will be something like that. So you have the longitudinal bar. Okay, longitudinal bar will be there in the top and bottom both, and this is the stirrups, and the spacing between these two stirrups is 145 mm. Okay, so that is our design now completed. So this diagram we have to give it in the site engineer. Now he can execute the exact same. Okay, so now our beam design has been completed. We have designed this beam from basic scratch, means we find it out all the shear reinforcement, the stirrups, as well as the tension and compression reinforcements also. Okay, so like that we are completing our beam design. That is, initially we discussed doubly reinforced section, and now we have discussed about the shear reinforcement. So in the next class we'll be discussing about the slabs. So slab and column and ultimately shear cases will be discussed in this course. Thank you.